Welcome back to DFC Books. Today we are opening a story that is, well, it's more than just literature, isn't it? It's arguably the single most foundational text for how the modern world celebrates the winter holiday season. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
It really is. I mean, when you think of that whole idea of festive redemption,
Yeah, the cynical heart being thawed by nostalgia and good cheer.
it all comes back to this one short novel, this ghostly little book, as Dickens himself called it.
And that's our mission today. We're going to do a complete structural deep dive, sort of a guided tour, to unpack the history told within this narrative. We're going to trace the transformation of Ebenezer Scrooge from, this miserly, isolated relic through the visits of the three spirits and right up to his miraculous transformation, all based on Dickens' original intent from that powerful December 1843 preface.
It's so important to start there with his purpose. He wasn't just writing a fun holiday story. He was, in a way, writing a moral instruction manual, but disguised as a supernatural thriller.
Right.
He says in that preface that he wanted to raise the ghost of an idea that would pleasantly haunt his readers. The goal wasn't just entertainment. It was to encourage them not to be out of humor with themselves or each other or the season.
And that idea, it took hold immediately.
Instantly. You can see it in the life of the text itself, even in the sources we have, these reprints from 1915, 1923. Yeah. The core message from 1843 is just locked in. The structure is fixed.
The characters are immortal.
Exactly. And we'll follow that whole cast on this journey. The villain Scrooge, his cautionary tale Jacob Marley, the three spirits past, present, and yet to come.
And of course the Cratchits, Bob, Mrs. Cratchit, and the absolutely critical Tiny Tim.
And Fred, Fezziwig, Belle.
Yeah.
Even the peripheral figures like Old Joe and Mrs. Dilber, they all have a part to play.
Okay, so let's begin where the story begins. Stave 1, which is basically a masterclass in establishing misery. Dickens introduces Scrooge not just as a man, but as this elemental force of coldness.
He really does. The text says external heat and cold had little influence on him. He was more bitter than the bitterest wind. He was a man who seemed to repel life itself.
And to really hammer home that isolation, Dickens gives us maybe the most famous line about death in all of English literature.
Marley was dead as a doornail.
Right. It's such a weirdly specific metaphor, but it works perfectly. It removes any doubt. This is final.
It has to be final for the ghost story to have any power.
And the detail that follows is just so Scrooge. He signed the burial register. He was Marley's sole everything. Sole executor, sole friend, sole mourner.
But the part that gets me is that he solemnized it with an undoubted bargain on the day of the funeral.
He didn't even stop for grief. He stopped for profit.
Profit and business.
Yeah.
That was his only religion. And his whole world reflects that. You have that London fog, that thick, palpable brown air.
Pouring into his counting house where we find the setting for all his cruelty, Bob Cratchit.
In that dismal little cell. Dickens just calls it a tank.
A tank, yeah. And Bob's fire is just one single coal. He can't get more because the coal box is in Scrooge's room, and Scrooge is always watching.
He's literally paying him just enough to stay cold, forcing him to try and warm his hands over a candle flame. It immediately sets up the central conflict of the book.
The war between wealth and joy.
Exactly. Which brings us to that brilliant confrontation with his nephew, Fred.
Fred is the complete opposite, isn't he? He's all enthusiasm. He walks in and asks that incredible question, "What right have you to be dismal? You're rich enough."
It's such a simple, profound question. Does your money excuse your misery?
And Scrooge's answer becomes this huge cultural catchphrase, "Bah! Humbug." For him, Christmas is just a time for paying bills without money, for getting older but not richer.
It's all about the ledger. It's a loss. And his solution is so comically violent.
Oh, that every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding.
And buried with a stake of holly through his heart. It's the ultimate rejection of any kind of social warmth.
But Fred's comeback is the moral heart of the story, isn't it? He says Christmas hasn't put any gold in his pocket, but
it's a kind, forgiving, charitable time. The one time of year when people open their shut-up hearts freely, and to think of people below them as if they really were fellow passengers to the grave.
Fellow passengers to the grave. That's such a powerful image of shared humanity.
And it's completely opposed to Scrooge's selfish individualism.
And then, the moment Fred leaves, the charity gentlemen arrive. And this is where the story gets really political.
It gets sharp. They're asking for donations for the poor and destitute.
And Scrooge doesn't just say no, he interrogates them. He asks if the prisons are still running, if the union workhouses are still in operation.
You have to understand, for the Victorian poor, these places were horrifying. They were designed to punish poverty, not to fix it.
So when he hears they're still going, and that the treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor, he's actually relieved.
He's applauding this brutal, punitive system. And when the gentlemen say that many would rather die than go to these places,
He delivers the line that just defines his moral bankruptcy.
if they would rather die,
Yeah.
they had better do it and decrease the surplus population.
Wow. He's literally reducing human beings to a statistic that needs to be culled.
It's the logical conclusion of his belief that his only business is his own business.
And that sets the stage for the haunting. He goes home to his gloomy chambers, Marley's old place.
And the supernatural kicks in, right on his doorstep. 7 years after Marley's death, he puts his key in the lock and he sees Marley's face in the door knocker.
It's not just in his head. He sees it.
And the description is so grotesque. It has a dismal light about it, like a bad lobster in a dark cellar.
A bad lobster. It's so specific and so disgusting, it's unnatural.
And he tries to dismiss it with a poo-poo,
Yeah.
but it's too late. The haunting has begun.
It moves from sight to sound then, right?
Yes, a disused bell starts to swing, quietly at first. Then all the bells in the house start ringing. And then the sound stops.
And a new sound starts.
The clanking of a heavy chain being dragged up the stairs right towards his door.
And there he is, Marley's ghost. And Scrooge, ever the materialist, trippy to explain it away.
An undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard. He's literally trying to blame the supernatural on indigestion.
But Marley is not having it. He's there to deliver the core message.
He shows him the chain, made of cash boxes, keys, ledgers. I wear the chain I forged in life, he says. I made it link by link and yard by yard.
He's being weighed down by his own greed.
Exactly. He says his spirit was supposed to walk among his fellow men, but it never left the counting house. He's condemned to wander and witness all the good he could have done.
And this is the great pivot of the stave, when he redefines what business really means.
Yes, that incredible anguished cry. Business. Mankind was my business. The common welfare was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business.
He's saying the deals he made were just a tiny drop in the ocean of his real responsibilities.
And he warns Scrooge that he's forging the same chain, but he has one chance. He'll be haunted by 3 spirits, the first to arrive when the clock tolls 1.
So, stave 2. The clock strikes 1, and the first spirit appears.
The ghost of Christmas past. And this is such a strange, brilliant creation. It represents memory itself. It's light and dark, a child and an old man at the same time.
Sometimes 1 arm, sometimes 20 legs.
It's this fluid, contradictory thing, just like memory. And Scrooge immediately hates the light it gives off. He wants it to put on its extinguisher cap.
He wants to snuff out the memories.
But the ghost says Scrooge's own passions made that cap. His own greed is what has been obscuring his past.
The spirit touches his heart, and suddenly they're back on the country road where he grew up.
And he's instantly overwhelmed. He weeps. He recognizes everything.
He sees the old school and his younger self left all alone for the holidays. But this is where we see the first little spark of the person he used to be.
Right. He's escaping into fiction. He's seeing Alibaba and Valentine and Orson. It shows he started with this capacity for wonder and imagination.
And then his sister Fan bursts in.
Dear, dear brother. She's come to take him home for good, saying their father is so much kinder than he used to be.
It's this beautiful moment of sibling love, but it's immediately undercut with sadness.
Because the spirit reminds him that Fan died, leaving behind one child.
His nephew Fred.
And Scrooge gets visibly uneasy. That's the first real pang of guilt we see from him.
And then comes maybe the most joyous scene in the whole book. Fezziwig's ball.
What a contrast. Fezziwig is the complete antithesis of Scrooge. He's a businessman, but he's full of life and joy. And Mrs. Fezziwig is just one fast, substantial smile.
It's not about the money, is it? The party probably didn't cost that much.
No, it's about the spirit. And this is the crucial moment of self-reflection for Scrooge. He's watching this and he's forced to praise Fezziwig's power to create happiness. He says it lies in words and looks and is quite as great as if it cost a fortune.
And as soon as he says it, he gets it.
He gets it. The shame hits him. He turns to the ghost and says, I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk just now. That's all.
The memory of a kind boss makes him realize how cruel he is to Bob.
Exactly. The past is directly connected to his present responsibility.
But the journey has to get darker. It has to show how he became who he is now.
Yes. So he sees himself older, showing signs of care and avarice, and he's with his fiancée, Belle.
This scene is just heartbreaking.
It's Dickens' direct critique of this new form of capitalism. Belle tells him another idol has displaced her.
A golden one.
She says his master passion, gain, engrosses him now. He's just accumulating money for the sake of it.
He tries to defend himself, but she sees right through it. She knows he now weighs everything by gain, so she lets him go.
She knows that if they stayed together, he would eventually regret it because she, a dowerless girl, is an unprofitable investment.
Devastating.
And then the ghost twists the knife one last time.
He shows him the life he could have had.
Belle, years later, happy, married, surrounded by this flushed and boisterous group of children, and Scrooge realizes one of those children could have called him father. It could have been a springtime in the haggard winter of his life.
And that's too much for him. He can't take it anymore.
He wrestles with the ghost, trying to force that extinguisher cap down to blot out the light of the past.
Which brings us to stave 3 and the ghost of Christmas present. And what a shift in tone.
A huge shift. Scrooge's room is completely transformed. It's this glorious, abundant groves, holly, mistletoe, ivy everywhere.
And the ghost itself, this jolly giant sitting on a throne made of food. Turkeys, geese, plum pudding.
He's the embodiment of festive abundance. And he carries this torch like Plenty's horn, and he uses it to sprinkle blessings on people.
He takes Scrooge out into the city, and even though the weather is awful,
Thick yellow mud, sooty atoms.
there's this air of cheerfulness abroad. Dickens gives us these incredible sensory details. The grocery shop with the scents of tea and coffee.
And the people just tumbling into each other in the best mood. It's this chaotic, communal joy that Scrooge could never buy.
And the spirit is actively spreading that joy, isn't he? He sprinkles his torch on the dinners of the poor people on their way to the baker's ovens.
He does, and when they start to quarrel, the blessing from his torch instantly restores their good humor. They remember it was a shame to quarrel upon Christmas Day.
This is where Scrooge starts to think differently, right? He asks the ghost why he would deprive them of their means of dining every 7th day, talking about the Sabbath laws.
It's his first step towards social consciousness. And the spirit's response is key. His blessing applies most to the poor, because it needs it most.
This seems like a good moment to pause and remind our listeners. If you're enjoying this deep dive into classic literature, please subscribe. And remember, if there's a book you want us to unpack next, comment below with your request. We love knowing what you, our curious listener, are diving into.
So from that general blessing, the spirit takes him to one specific place that needs it most.
Bob Cratchit's 4-roomed house.
And we're reminded of the reality. Bob earns 15 bob a week. The spirit blesses the house with his torch, knowing this family needs that kindness.
And we meet Tiny Tim.
Yes, bearing his little crutch, his limbs in an iron frame. But his spirit is so strong. Bob tells Scrooge that Tim hoped people in church saw him, because it might be pleasant for them to remember who made lame beggars walk and blind men see.
It's an incredible moment of grace in the face of so much hardship.
And their dinner is a triumph. The goose is tiny, the pudding is small, but they celebrate it like it's the greatest feast in the world.
It's about their collective spirit, not the material things.
Until Bob proposes a toast to Mr. Scrooge.
And Mrs. Cratchit just explodes. She calls him a stingy, hard, unfeeling man. The name Scrooge is like a poison that darkens the whole room.
The gravity returns when Scrooge, now deeply concerned, asks the ghost if Tiny Tim will live.
And the ghost tells him that if the shadows remain unaltered, the child will die.
And then he delivers the knockout blow. He throws Scrooge's own words back in his face.
About the surplus population.
Yes. He tells Scrooge to hold his wicked cant until he has figured out what the surplus is and where it is. Scrooge is just crushed by his own cruelty.
The ghost then whisks him away, showing him Christmas joy in the most isolated places. A lonely moor with miners, a lighthouse on a reef, a ship at sea.
The message is clear. This spirit of connection isn't confined to the city, it's everywhere.
And then they land in Fred's house, and Scrooge hears his nephew's big, hearty laugh.
And Fred is saying he pities his uncle because his wealth is of no use to him. He says he'll keep inviting him every year, hoping to shake him.
They play games, and the object of one game turns out to be Scrooge himself.
Described as a disagreeable animal, a savage animal, an animal that growled and grunted.
But even then, Fred toasts to Uncle Scrooge. He just won't give up on him.
But as the night ends, the spirit ages. Its hair turns gray. and it reveals the most terrifying symbol in the whole book.
Two children clinging to its robes, wretched, wolfish, ragged.
The spirit identifies them. The girl is want, the boy is ignorance.
And he says to beware them both, but most of all beware this boy. For on his brow I see that written which is doom, unless the writing be erased.
The implication is massive. Poverty is terrible, but it's willful ignorance that will destroy society. It's a direct, powerful social critique from Dickens.
And that horrifying prediction of doom leads us straight into stave 4 and the ghost of Christmas yet to come.
And if the present was abundance, this is silence. The ghost is tall, draped in black, its face hidden. It doesn't speak, it just points.
Scrooge is more afraid of this one than any of the others.
Because it represents the fixed, final outcome if he doesn't change. But his attitude is different now. He tells the spirit he is prepared to follow it with a thankful heart.
The spirit takes him to the business district, the change, and he sees merchants discussing a death.
And their reaction is nothing. Pure indifference. They wonder if there will be lunch at the funeral. One of them calls the dead man Old Scratch.
The man's entire life added up to a cheap funeral and a potential free meal. That's it.
Scrooge expects to see himself, but he's not there. He's witnessing the fate of someone just like him.
Then the scene shifts from cold indifference to active plunder.
To old Joe's disgusting little shop, a place that sells rags and bones and greasy offal.
And he sees three people, the charwoman, the laundress, and the undertaker's man, who have all stolen things from the dead man's room.
And they're laughing about it. Their justification is, he always did take care of himself, so why shouldn't they?
The details are just horrific. The charwoman took his bed curtains, rings and all, with him lying there.
And his best shirt. She took it right off the corpse, saying he can't look uglier than he did in that one. It's the ultimate indignity. They are profiting from his degradation.
And Scrooge is listening to this, horrified, and the realization hits him.
The case of this unhappy man might be my own. My life tends that way now.
The spirit then shows him the body itself, on the bed, unwatched, unwept, uncared for.
The sheer deafening silence of that lonely death. Scrooge feels he has no power to lift the sheet and see the face.
He begs to see some emotion connected to this death, any emotion.
And the ghost shows him one. Pleasure. A couple who owed the dead man money are relieved. They're happy he's gone because they'll finally be free.
The only emotion his death causes is joy in others.
From there, the spirit takes him to the one place where there is real sorrow, the Cratchit home.
It's quiet now, and we learn that Tiny Tim has died.
Bob comes home, walking slower than he used to. He talks about visiting the green place where Tim is buried, and he tells his family how Fred met him in the street and offers such kindness. Fred is already acting as the man Scrooge should have been.
Scrooge is completely broken now. He begs the specter to show him his own future.
The ghost leads him to a churchyard and points to a gravestone.
And Scrooge falls to his knees. He reads the name, Ebenezer Scrooge.
That's the breaking point. He grabs the ghost's robe, pleading, "I am not the man I was." He promises he'll change. "I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year."
He asks if he can sponge away the writing on the stone.
And in his desperation, he grabs the spectral hand, and it shrinks and dwindles into a bedpost.
And he's back. Stave 5, the end of it.
He's back in his own bed. The bedpost is his own. And best of all, the time before him is his own, to make amends in.
He's just hysterical with joy. He's laughing and crying.
He throws open the window, and the world is reborn with him. No fog, no mist, clear, bright, jovial, stirring, cold, golden sunlight.
He asks a boy what day it is, and the boy tells him.
Why Christmas Day?
He hasn't missed it. He still has a chance.
And his first act of new life is just wonderfully over the top.
The prize turkey.
He sends the boy to buy the enormous prize turkey, the one that's twice the size of Tiny Tim, and sends it anonymously to the Cratchits.
It's a joke, a joyful, excessive act of kindness to overwhelm their scarcity.
Then he goes out and finds the portly gentleman he rejected the day before. He apologizes and whispers his donation.
A donation that includes a great many back payments?
Yeah.
He's making up for lost time.
And then the family reconciliation. He goes to his nephew Fred's house.
And they have a wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. The isolation is completely shattered.
But the final test comes the next morning at the office.
He gets there early, specifically to catch Bob Cratchit coming in late.
Bob rushes in 18 and a half minutes late, absolutely terrified.
And Scrooge puts on his old growl, pretends to be angry, and then he leaps up and says,
"I am about to raise your salary."
"Huh, Poor Bob thinks he's gone mad.
He tells Bobby he's going to help his family and orders him to go buy another coal scuttle. It's the perfect, joyful climax.
The story ends by telling us that Scrooge was better than his word. Tiny Tim did not die.
And Scrooge became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew.
Some people laughed at him, but he didn't care.
He let them laugh. His own heart laughed, and that was enough for him. And the story ends with Tiny Tim's famous blessing. God bless us, everyone.
So this deep dive really shows Dickens's mastery, doesn't it? The whole structure is designed to connect personal history, social responsibility, and future consequence.
Absolutely. Marley's chain, forged from ledgers, proves that a life lived only for business is a spiritually empty one.
And Scrooge's transformation isn't magic. It's based on applied knowledge. He had to act on what he learned from the past, present, and future. The turkey, the salary raise, those were the application of the lessons.
He finally understood what Bell called the master passion gain only led to loneliness, and that the only real profit was in the common welfare that Marley cried out for.
And we can't forget that final, terrifying warning from the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Ignorance and want. Dickens wasn't just criticizing one man. He was criticizing a society that allowed those specters to grow. The boy, ignorance being the most dangerous. Because without knowledge, there's no hope for moral change.
It's interesting the book notes at the end that Scrooge had no further intercourse with spirits but lived upon the total abstinence principle ever afterwards. He didn't need the ghosts anymore.
He internalized the lesson.
So here's the provocative thought for you to carry forward, our curious listener. If Scrooge managed his redemption without any more supernatural visits, what non-supernatural haunting lessons might we carry forward from those shadows of ignorance and want? How do those shadows manifest in our world today, and what kind of action does that demand from us? This ghostly little book reminds us that the past informs us, the present guides us, and the future holds our accountability.
We hope these ideas haunt your house pleasantly.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.